Hello. Welcome to the most futuristic and definitely most international panel of Kopaonik Business Forum. These days, we are so happy and proud to be able to gather this amazing group of people on the panel and looking really forward to discuss the next industrial revolution. Last year, at this stage, we announced the Bio4 Campus project and the next industrial revolution being the intersection of biology and technology. As Israelis call it bioconvergence, and McKinsey call it the biorevolution. And in the meantime, the US government, the President Biden announced the executive order on bioeconomy, and they defined bioeconomy as biotechnology plus biomanufacturing. So at the very beginning, I would like to ask the head of UNDP in Serbia, Mr. Jakub Beriš, to give us his address. Because of the great support of UNDP in putting this panel together, we are very, very grateful for that. Please, Mr. Beriš.
Well, thank you very much. I have the pleasure to introduce the panel, but of course I will then pass on the microphone to the moderator who will actually moderate the session, and then you will hear all the interesting discussions from the panelists. So I serve the role of filling the minutes until the audience comes in, but hopefully with some information that still will benefit the discussions as well. So dear Minister Begovic, Mr. Paunovic, dear panelists, of course, dear audience, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for us to be part of this panel because it is key and important to our heart in what we do as the overall goal of achieving sustainable development goals together with Serbian government and people in this country. And we believe that this topic that we will address today, the panel will address, has the power to change our lives and the future of development. It's a big statement. It's a big statement, but I do really believe that it does have that potential if we go in the right direction. So in the years to come, the revolution in biological sciences, combined with the accelerating development of computing, data processing, and artificial intelligence, will open up vast opportunities for the progress of humankind. So this has a linear proposition that digital development will accelerate biotech also. But actually there's a reverse proposition as well, and just recently colleagues were sharing me with the example last week where we learned that an international team of scientists led by Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore proposes to develop a biological computer powered by millions of human brain cells. So it's the other way around too, that actually when you look at the developments in the biotech, it actually has the potential of redefining the AI as well as digital technologies too. And the researchers say that this biocomputer could outperform the silicon-based machines while consuming less energy. True or not, that is the proposition. At least there are people working on it, and there is the potential there. So while we focus on artificial intelligence, and that is the talk of the town these days, research suggests that there are even bigger developments and more interesting developments that can make this digital and biotech circular to feed into each other in the future. Our proposition, and that's where normally I wanted to focus on, of course, is then with this circular thinking, how then biotech can actually develop to improve human health. Just imagine that one. We were just discussing yesterday with the minister, and she was giving the example of, imagine what could happen by focusing on our unique set of genes. Biotech can tailor medical treatment for each patient, which can help us actually address 45% of current global diseases in that particular way. This is not a statement. It is actually happening in Serbia. You can visit the institutes that work on this particular topic. So in parallel, biotechnology in agriculture, think about it, can boost food production and create more heat and drought-resistant crops, which is becoming very important given climate change. It sounds dry, we are talking about drought-resistant crops, but it has the potential to change how we produce our food as well. So with innovations in synthetic biology, we can also advance environmental and climate action through high-performance sustainable products such as naturally renewable rubber for tires or green chemicals, Examples continue, made from agricultural waste. So in addition, environmental biotech has the potential to solve the daunting problem of plastic pollution. So for us, why as UNDP we are part of this, the benefits are clear. The biorevolution could help the world simultaneously, that is a big challenge for all of us, simultaneously achieve multiple sustainable development goals. So if we focus on economic opportunities, that's a second angle to why biotech is important for us, because it has the social and economic dimension at the same time, and that is why we think it is the multiple sustainable development goals that can be addressed through it. So global biotechnology is a fast-growing market. According to the recent McKinsey report, in 10 to 20 years, the direct annual impact of the biorevolution on the global economy could be $2 to $4 trillion. Believe it or not, but it says that it will be big, and it's an opportunity. Zooming into Serbia, the challenge now is to create the conditions for an environment for the bio-industry to flourish here. So this includes the need to make it easier for the biotech startups to operate and update laws to keep the pace with the borderless world of biotech entrepreneurship. Again, big statements, very important. If actually you achieve it, it requires a lot of legwork, but once it happens, it is an economic value to offer. So, I'm here to say, as UNDP, we are ready to support. The work is to be done by Serbia, by the Serbian leadership, and you will hear from them. And also, we will hear the international experiences and examples, perhaps, on how things develop in other places. So we are here to support in any way possible, and we are having our discussions with our counterparts at the Serbian government. Just hear from them the establishing of the Bio4 campus, which is a unique example, in my opinion, that can offer all of these things all together, all the multiple benefits, and all the thinking that links to the economic as well as research and development aspects of the scientific elements of biotech. So we have been supporting from these efforts from the beginning, and will continue to help Serbia to push the boundaries in that sense. And innovation lies at the heart of that thinking. And of course, what we can offer will be an integrated approach to biotech that is actually beyond it to reap the benefits in all the sectors in the country in every way that is possible. I'll stop there because the more interesting discussion is yet to come. And I see more people that have come in, and so I actually accomplished my task. On that note, let me pass on the word to the able moderator, but I look forward to hearing all the interesting discussions from the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berish. I'm now happy to ask our scientist turned Minister of Science, Technological Development and Innovation, Dr. Jelena Begović, to tell us a bit more what's happening in Serbia now. Please use it.
No, it's easier for me because I can. It's on. Well, hello everyone. I'm really excited to be here on Kopaonik, and for the second time we'll talk about biotech, and I think this is a huge step forward for us. So first of all, I want to greet you in front of the Ministry of Science, Technological Development and Innovation. So this is a sign we have now our own ministry, so the government has decided that science is becoming really a very important piece of the puzzle for the development of the country. So what are we doing at this moment? The government has decided to create opportunities through the establishment of new bioeconomy hubs. So how are we going to do it? What do you need for that? And where we are as a country. So this is the slide where we start our presentations, because look at the year, look the person, so how he changed our world. And back in 2011, for him, it was obviously, it became obvious that the convergence between life sciences, bio, and ICT, including AI, is going to change the world, and it already started. So this is the fact. The question is whether we are going to catch this train, we're going to be on board, or we shall just use someone else's technologies. But I think it's very important to explain what biotech is. People think they know, but actually biotech has been with us from the very beginning. So the upper picture, you will see wine, you will see cheese. I think you have been enjoying already here on Kopaonik. So you have been enjoying traditional biotech. And that was until 20th century. Starting from 20th century, we somehow discovered DNA. We discovered how to read, how to synthesize, how to use living organisms to become factories. So this is biotech. The application of biological principles and usage of biological systems as a whole or as their parts for the production of products that we need. So we are creating, thanks to the development of technology, particularly to the DNA technology and cloning and genetical engineering, we are now creating new life, and we're now creating biological factories. So this is biotech. To the right, you see this is partially artificial microorganism with artificial chromosome that is dividing. So we are starting now to, influence the evolution. But in the real life, it's already happening. Impossible Foods, well, you can find plant-based meatballs or hamburgers, and you see at the top they're really red, like they're having, blood, but the blood is really soy protein produced in yeast. And if someone asked you where is the connection between this second product, so it's a thin layer for usage for the displays, and animal-free dairy, well, the only answer is biotech. So both products are produced in living organisms, and now we actually don't need cows anymore for the milk. And at the beginning in 2024, this product will hit the market, and you will have real milk with real proteins, cow's proteins, but produced in yeast. And of course, the advantages and developments in biomedicine, just to mention CAR-T therapy, so we're changing our own cells, we're bringing them into our organism, and they're very successfully fighting tumors. So the life is not going to be the same. This is just the projection of biotech market. We're talking about trillions, we're talking about really exponential trends. 50% of it, it's biomedicine, and 25% agri-tech. So far, Serbia has a really long and successful history of STEM sciences. So basic sciences, we do have. STEM education, still rather good. R&D and research development institutions, we have them. So within faculties, 123, scientific institutes, 65. So we have ecosystem for the start, although we are a small country. Then we have science technology parks, and we are now enlarging. So we build the basic, let's say, infrastructure. It's already full, so startups are starting to grow, but we need more involvement of universities and scientific institutes. So academia needs to, push forward. And now we are already enlarging these beautiful buildings, these beautiful ecosystems for the support of startup ecosystem. We do have engagement of the government, and we have amazing infrastructure, I would say state-of-the-art data center that is offered both to private sector but also for the research institutions that are starting to use the benefits of supercomputers. I didn't want to keep this, but actually I found out that our private companies are not aware of the incentives that the government has brought in order to boost R&D activities in private sector. So we do have R&D within academia, but we still lack significantly R&D within our companies. And as you know, you follow the news, more and more companies, very sophisticated, are bringing their R&Ds in Serbia. But we do need to somehow motivate our companies to invest more in R&D. And please, if you know someone, just tell them there are really good incentives. They have to be informed on this. So this is something that is totally out of our control. These are the top challenges that the world on a global level is facing. Whether we talk about medicine, whether we talk about agriculture and food production, whether, well, I don't have to tell you about the energy, but also the green agenda. So these challenges require solutions, and the only way to solve this, the only way to fight and find the proper solution is through science, development of innovations, technology transfer, the development of startup ecosystem as a bridge between, you know, first idea and product on the marketplace. And in 2021, the government has really decided to support the idea of establishment of a, we call it a platform, multidisciplinary platform where infrastructure, knowledge, experts, private and governmental sector meet. Why Bio4? So biomedicine as also part of biotech, but biomedicine, biotechnology, bioinformatics, including AI and biodiversity. So these are our 4 pillars, and we have decided to really try to put together everything that we have in this country that is related directly or indirectly to these 4 pillars and put them on one place. So this green and blue already exists. The left green, phase B, is a Faculty of Pharmacy, but it will move to this right. So I'm talking about the right parcel, around 9 hectares, where we will build the phase A or phase 1 of this projects. But we also want to keep our regulators and to bring more regulators to become a part of this ecosystem, because we have to evolve together. We cannot afford lagging behind of regulators and regulations on this very, very competitive market. We will bring 9 completely or partially 9 scientific institutes, 5 faculties, extension of Science Technology Park for the biotech, for the support of a startup community. Then very important part of this ecosystem are biopharma companies. We're already negotiating with biopharma companies to open their R&Ds, CDMOs, pilot productions. So we really we put together all the stakeholders in this area. Central part is Convention and Multimedia Museum Center, Minglarium. So we want people to mingle, we want people to meet at this one place. Formally, informally, it doesn't matter, just the private sector, startup community, scientists, and just regular, you know, citizens are on one place. It's very important for us also to communicate with citizens everything about biotech and AI, and it's becoming on global level very important. So this is something that we planned. On 9 hectares, you will see now on the next, to the left, we have mixed all the tenants. So from Faculty of Biology, Chemistry, Pharmacy, Agriculture, Chemical Engineer, Faculty of Metallurgy, Faculty of Technology and Metallurgy. Then we have different institutes from nanotechnology, AI, to genetical engineering, biomedicine, also mixed together. This is something completely new for our, I would say, ecosystem. So we will have to work together. And this central original building, it's going to be this Minglarium, so the central focal gravity spot of the whole ecosystem. You will see we have Science Technology Park, also accommodation for the professors and students, and buildings for the private sector. Some of the core facilities are also planned, for instance, animal facility for preclinical trials. I will just leave you to these photos. So we're pulling people from the city center, but we want to give them everything that we can and use this open land for them to really feel relaxed, happy, and willing to spend time here. And it's very important to create completely new ecosystem. So where we are in development projects, but we're planning to start building by the end of 2023. And this first stage, we're expecting to become fully operational, let's say, end of 2025. I know it's ambitious, but if we're not ambitious, we're not going to do it. And how are we attracting, but not only companies, the scientific community? So this is the place where, you know, experts meet. This is the place where companies will have the access to the infrastructure, access to talents, access to students, communication with educational systems. So we have to move faster in changing our educational system so it becomes more aligned with the global trends. Young students, experts for problem solvings, mutual projects, and last but not least, really, really strong governmental support, which is crucial for projects like this. I won't keep you more, so this is just, you can see we're switching and changing these presentations from time to time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jelena. Next, we have someone really, really special in Serbian ecosystem, I would say, and especially genetics ecosystem. This is Mr. Rade Drmanac, who was not able to be here with us, but he prepared a video address, and I would really love to ask Jelena to take the mic again and introduce Mr. Drmanac, because he's really so special to us.
Sorry, I completely forgot. So, it is my immense pleasure to announce, well, I would say, one of those extraordinaries, human beings. And he started here in Serbia, and he started his career and his technological development here in Serbia at the Institute of Molecular Genetics and Genetical Engineering. He was one of the establishers, moved to States, and then he changed the world of sequencing because he couldn't bear to see that one human genome sequence costs like 2 billion and it takes you 10 years, you know, to have a final sequence. So he said, okay, it has to be $100 and it has to be like 24 hours. And the whole world was laughing at that moment. And he was working together with another amazing person, George Church, who is also changing the world. And he managed, really. He created systems for sequencing that are now allowing us to create huge amounts of data and that are changing the world, changing biotech, changing biomedicine, changing agriculture, and the world as we see it. So it's my pleasure again to have him here, and I hope we will bring him to Belgrade and try to engage him more in some future projects that we're now discussing with him. So maybe we will have him more in Serbia. That would be a huge plus for us. And now we will have the video, because unfortunately he was not able to come, although he wanted to be here. But he's still very, very active in business and research. So he will, I mean, he's one of those all life from the beginning to the end, just the science and development and the change of the world. So we will now play the video of his address to our conference today.
Hello, my name is Rade Drmanac, scientific founder and chief scientific officer of Complete Genomics, an innovator in DNA sequencing located in Silicon Valley. We're now part of MGI, a spin-off from BGI, a large genomics organization located in China. First, I'd like to thank Nenad for the opportunity to participate on this important panel. To provoke deeper discussions, I'd like to highlight the developing interplay of large-scale DNA sequencing, synthetic biology, and artificial intelligence, promising together longer, healthy, and productive lives by preventing diseases, slowing down aging, or even de-aging. This interplay is positioning biotechnology and bioeconomy as a dominant force of our future economic growth. Efficient DNA sequencing already revolutionized diagnosis of genetic diseases. Massively parallel sequencing is the current main technology that actually originated in Serbia 35 years ago. From the beginning, Serbia had great molecular biology, and within that environment, I invented a way to sequence millions of DNA molecules in parallel. Later in US, my team modified this approach, resulting in the current high-efficient DNA sequencing. Our sequencers are now running in MGI, the institute where this technology originated from. This example is teaching us that cutting-edge education and science are critical to grow future bioeconomy in Serbia. We can now sequence our personal genomes with high accuracy at affordable sub-$100 price on a sequencer that runs 50,000 samples per year. This lab can sequence all newborns in Serbia. Serbia would actually need several of these systems for better treatment of cancer and for yearly molecular health checkups. The future needs for sequencing will grow thousandfold to support precise, personalized disease prevention. The good news is that the cost of sequencing will continue to go down to an amazing $10 genome. The sequencing-based molecular health tests, AI-generated reports, and corresponding interventions, all provided, approved by communities of experts, will democratize healthcare and improve health. Everybody will have access to the same affordable and reliable early detection of cancer or other hidden diseases or emerging infectious diseases like COVID before it's too late. Slower healthy aging and potentially de-aging would have enormous economic impact. Even a few years of extended healthy, productive lives would bring big economic benefits by reducing medical costs, increasing productivity, and longer use of our knowledge and expertise. Imagine dying healthy when we're over 100. There is substantial evidence that changes in DNA organization inside of our cells, in part due to unhealthy living, are causing aging. In a recent breakthrough, young tissue state was restored, de-aged, by a few natural regulators of gene activity produced by biotechnology. But we need to do de-aging before it's too late. Thus, it is critical to monitor our molecular health and slow down our aging. Now, what's the importance of synthetic biology, SynBio? SynBio engineers new tricks in cells, from inserting new biochemical pathways to making entirely new genomes and organisms. One SynBio application is preventing or treating diseases by genome editing in our tissue stem cells to correct genetic glitches. This is already proven. Broad applications are making new materials, new drugs, supplements, healthier food. We need many of these SynBio products for maintaining health and preventing diseases. SynBio also provides more environment-friendly manufacturing. There are many elements of SynBio, from most effective and accurate gene synthesis to making functional genetic modules, to incorporate these in genomes and finally evaluating their effects. SynBio and efficient DNA sequencing are actually synergistically coupled. Deep understanding of gene regulation and gene protein functions is needed to advance SynBio and opposite. Every country needs to build infrastructure and ecosystem to grow bioeconomy and to advance healthcare. As we know, that is much more than new buildings. We need bigger workforce in genomics, biotechnology, and bioinformatics, many specialty labs, powerful IT and robotics to process millions of samples, and much more. Currently in Serbia, we can sequence about 5,000 genomes per year. By the end of this decade, we will need over 1,000 times larger sequencing infrastructure for early detection and prevention of cancer, heart, immune systems, and other diseases. We need several large sequencing labs in big population centers. Fortunately, advanced sequencing, even at this scale, requires relatively low capital investment. Healthcare enabling personalized disease prevention and longer healthy lives should be recognized as the most important sector of future economy. This includes many supporting sectors, from healthy food and healthy environment to manufacturing, supplements, and treatments. Future bioeconomy should be structured to support efficient healthcare. I wish you productive discussions that will resonate in the corridors of power. Maybe we can start with this question. Will our children or grandchildren live 200 years, and what would that impact be? Thanks.
The one and only, Mr. Rade Drmanac. Our panelists are also so amazing that I won't even try to present themselves. So I will ask them to do an elevator pitch of like 1 minute who they are and what they do. And also to try to answer Rade's question, are our children or grandchildren going to live 200 plus years? And is this reasonable to expect? And we can start with Ali over there and then come towards my way. And please, Alistair.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet all of you. My name is Alistair Thong. I'm a venture capital investor investing into biotechnology and drug development. I currently work for 2 funds, so I have my own fund called Selvage Venture, and then separately I'm a venture partner in Mubadala Capital. And with regards to your question about will we live for 200 years, I hope we will. I hope our children will, but I think realistically, if we can just live to 100, that's already a huge improvement, and that will already have wide-ranging impacts. I mean, maybe afterwards we might be able to reach that stage, but I think given where we are with biotechnology at the moment, precision medicine and all the rest of it, 200 is probably a little bit unrealistic. If we can just make most of the world live to 100 and live healthy, that's an achievable aim actually in this day and age. It's more operational in terms of how we achieve it.
Thank you very much. Raymond comes from Barcelona, please. Yes.
Okay. Well, Barcelona made it in 20 years into the bioeconomy, so there's hope for Serbia, because there was zero bioeconomy, zero venture capital investment, no biotech company. My name is Raimund Fickert. I work at the Barcelona Biomedical Research Park. We are an excellent infrastructure at the beach of Barcelona. We have attracted thousands of scientific talents to Barcelona, and I could witness also the growth of the bioeconomy in Catalonia, autonomous region in Spain, that went from zero venture capital investment to 450 million euro investment last year, and to about 600 health-related companies in medtech, biotech, and digital health companies. So I'm very glad to be here. Thank you, and I wish you good luck. I think you have the good opportunity to start having very little. Having very little. That gives you the chance to really relax. You have nothing to lose, and just go ahead and be creative and do things where everybody tells you it won't work, because that happened to us.
Thank you. On the entrepreneurship side, Vlado.
So I'm Vlado Cmljanovic. I'm originally from Kragujevac, from Serbia. And as I was 19, I moved to Germany first, as I was handball national player in Serbia. So in our family, we all do 2 things, handball and the chemistry. So I moved first to Germany and 1 year later to Switzerland, where I did my bachelor in chemistry, also master in chemistry. And then I specialized in medicinal chemistry, in development of so-called lipid kinase inhibitors. So my professors, they discovered 2 important enzymes, PI3K and mTOR. And then my sister, who joined me also in Switzerland to work together, we were among the first starting to block those enzymes with small molecules. And that's how we started to build our first biotech store in Switzerland called PCure. And in 2016, we started to build another company, TagImmune, where with PCure we build molecules to stop the production of sugar within the cancer cells. And with TagImmune, we are mimicking the viruses, inserting them specifically into cancer cell, and then the immune system is attacking specifically the cancer cell. In 2018, we founded the Swiss Rockets Company, which is today the largest incubator and accelerator of Swiss startup companies. On one side, together with the Swiss government, we're offering the lab space, office space, but also factories and manufacturing space to build the products and produce them. And on another side, we are also investors, entrepreneurial investors. We are investing into those startup companies, and we are also putting the operational power into those startup companies to develop certain drugs. The newest project is RocketVax, founded in 2020, which is today the Swiss national next generation vaccine platform. We are developing the next generation COVID-19 vaccine, which is a nasal spray able to protect the people for 1 or 2 years against the SARS-CoV-2 infection. So all those technologies that we are doing, we would like, and we are working on that to bring them also to Serbia. Thanks to the Nenad and Jelena and the Serbian government who are building the Bio4 campus, we see a huge opportunity connecting Switzerland and Serbia. And I think Serbia has a huge potential, huge brain power to come to the top of the Champions League to play in a couple of years in that league. Thank you.
Thank you. And from one of the top 10 global universities, Mr. John Anderson, please.
Thank you. Yes, John Anderson. I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Imperial College London. And for the last 15 years or so, I've been working on taking the foundations that Imperial College has established as a world-class STEM university, but actually facing many of the challenges that you are here, which is actually bringing clinical activity and bioscience with engineering, with science, with ICT, and doing that in a new location, because we believe very much that you need a place where you can bring everybody together, and where the university and the institutes, the core research, can be the anchor, but you determinedly bring entrepreneurship, innovation, global corporates, and indeed government and the other essential elements of regulated innovation together, so that we can push into disruption and into areas where we can actually make a change and have an impact. So as CIO, I have the great privilege of being a mixed motive investor. I don't have to worry only about the financial return, although many of our global top 10 peers have rather more money than we do. I can think about how the activities that we found and we create will actually have a global impact. And I think that challenge around living to 200 and living to 200 healthy is a great challenge. You need to start with really ambitious challenges. But I really would focus on that health span issue before we really focus on the lifespan. We need to make sure that we're creating equal opportunities for the most of the planet to live healthily through that first 100 years, and then we'll discover that because we have a healthy, ambitious and engaged community, that the next 100 is probably easier to go after. I'm very excited to be connected here onto the Bio4 opportunity, because I see that long-term ambition and that commitment to a place in a great global city where you can actually attract and retain the amazing talent and the science talent. Jelena and I talk regularly about the essential core white coat community that will actually do the disruption and do the foundational science in an interdisciplinary environment. So very keen to see what happens here and to internationally connect, because it's so important that the community of science continues to be global and international, despite some of the efforts of some national governments.
So while still at you, a question for you and also for Raymond as well. Could you please share, since you have multi-decade experience in building campuses or communities or ecosystems, could you please share some of the lessons learned, do's and don'ts, tips and tricks? What should we do and how to do it?
The cluster theory is from a previous millennium. The idea that you need to bring organizations that have got the same focus and the same mission together is well established, and geographical locations. And indeed, innovation district theory, which followed on from that, is also well established, and research intensive innovation districts in an urban realm at an urban granular level. So the theory is relatively simple, but practice is not. And why is practice not easy? It's because you have to disrupt. You have to break down existing ecosystems, and you have to cope with organizations who are very happy with their own status and their own position within a city or within a national system or even within a global system. And you also have to focus on the unknown. That's the really hard thing, is that governments and funding bodies, they want a plan. And they want a plan which has got a discounted cash flow, and it will have this much cash going in at the beginning, and then within 5 years it's already cash flow positive, and then within 10 years it's generating significant capital returns. And unfortunately, innovation ecosystems are not reliable at that front end. You have to follow the science, you have to follow the data, and in particular you have to give autonomy to leaders who are willing to make those brave decisions, and most importantly, fail early, fail in a big way, and fail fast. So you need organizations and a cluster of organizations that are going to lean in to failure, enjoy failure, celebrate failure, and take the people that have failed and give them the next opportunity, because those that have failed are far better at disrupting and seeing the future than those who have only found mediocrity through success. So I think patience, long-term, critical mass, it's all about intensity and density. You've got to bring everything together, and you've got to have that forcing function, which means that those who aren't willing to engage in the cluster theory, in the innovation district theory, actually are the ones that lose out, because the critical resources, the talent, the money, the space, the environment is driven towards those who are willing to truly take those big decisions and take a patient approach, and therefore see success in 10, 15, 20 years. I think Barcelona, a great example where that bravery is paying out now, but that was bravery from 23 years ago. So yeah, I think those are some hopefully simple tips. The theory is easy, and the practice is not that hard, provided you've got strong leadership and extraordinary commitment from the right institutions within the national system.
Thank you very much. Raymond, what would you add?
Yes, thank you for the bravery. I think we were brave because everybody was laughing at us. And Barcelona is a beautiful city, but that is not enough. I cannot stress more enough the importance of science. If you have top science, if you manage to attract top scientists, you will get your bioeconomy. Science and life science and computers, it would just happen. It happened like that in Barcelona. Now, how do you improve science? The good thing is that the scientific community is actually quite mobile. They move around the world, and they go to the States and the UK, and then they move to other interesting places where things are happening, or where they perceive that things are happening. Now, you need to compete for that talent, that mobile talent, and in our experience, the only thing that you need is, you need the best infrastructure. Let's say in Serbia, you actually need infrastructure that you have in Boston and Silicon Valley and Imperial College. You will have that here. Our experience is, if you don't have a comparable infrastructure, you don't even compete. If you have the comparable infrastructure, you start competing, but you need to add more. You need to generate some enthusiasm about very innovative and risky projects that maybe young talent is drawn to. Yeah? Now, infrastructure attracting science that wants stable environments, because science also depends on political decisions, takes its time. And what we saw in Barcelona or in Catalonia and in other regions worldwide, you generate a huge conflict. You generate a huge conflict between different speeds. Yeah, we have here more business-oriented people. Businesses are fast, are dynamic. Science is very slow. And also having society accept that. So you cannot build a scientific infrastructure in 2 years. Yeah, it's impossible. So you need to give something to all the different partners and managing the different speeds. When I arrived in Barcelona, there was no attractive science, but venture capitalists, they were contacting me to see what there was to invest in. And I said, give us time. There's nothing. Give us time. And what we did, we sent the investors, the local investors in Catalonia, abroad to learn about biotech investments. Yeah, and I think you have perfect contact. And he is an expert, Vladimir is an expert, so you have that. So teach what it actually means to invest in a life science company. And last but not least, maintain the enthusiasm to do something important. Do not do anything because you think Serbia deserves also a bioeconomy. I think the world is in a big mess. We do not have solutions. We do not have solutions for many things. And bio is a promise. So be a little puzzle piece that maybe is the missing link that we need for a greater solution. And in order to create that puzzle piece, be as creative and as risk-taking as possible. Don't try to do the same that we did in Barcelona, because we did it 20 years ago. Do something now, looking at the next 20 years. Thank you.
Ali, as Raymond mentioned, venture capitalists, and I'd really like to know how to really invest in a life science company. And once you share this really great paradigm difference or paradigm shift between venture capitalist investing in IT company or software company versus investing in a life science company. So please, could you share with us?
Absolutely. And I think this is something fundamentally important that people understand about startups, is that biology and biotech and life sciences is fundamentally different to technology in terms of how you invest. It's a very simple reason why. Technology investments tend to focus on mitigating commercial risk. Biology investments or life sciences investments focus on mitigating technical or biological risk. Now, to take a simple example, if you were to cure Alzheimer's and to come up with a drug that is able to cure Alzheimer's disease, which currently there is no cure or even really any good treatments for, you will be a billionaire. There's no question, because were you to create a cure for that disease, the demand is unlimited. It's non-elastic. It's completely related to the impact that that drug will have. And what does that mean? It means that you don't need to mitigate your commercial risk. If you build it and it works, people will buy it. In contrast, if you take technology investments, so social networks or SaaS investments or otherwise, you're constantly trying to upsell the commercial product that you've created, which is fundamentally different. You're doing something in order to convince someone that you should buy your product, rather than actually they have no other option to do it because the complexity of the product they've created was so high. And it's an interesting one when you start in life sciences, because drug development versus something like IT, where you're building a social network, drug development takes 10 years at a minimum, and it costs $1 billion roughly to get a drug to market, and less than 2% of drugs which are brought in actually make it to market. So you could spend 750 million on your drug and it would still not get anywhere, because you didn't either have enough or it was always going to fail because you didn't understand the science. The multiplicative risk that you have around investment in life sciences is just very, very high. And it means actually the types of people that would invest in life sciences and in drug development should only invest in that. If you asked me to invest in technology, I would lose money left, right, and center, because that's not what I'm designed to do. I understand how to invest in a drug target and how to turn that target into a drug, which can be in turn taken on by a pharma company and marketed and sold. But it's a very, very different environment if you were to look at IT versus life science, and the investors and the startups and the entrepreneurs that you interact with are also quite fundamentally different.
And how do people get comfortable investing in life science? How do you become a VC investor in life science when it is so different than IT?
So I think a big part of it is impact. Unlike in technology and if you're investing in tech, where a lot of the time you're trying to optimize a specific commercial problem, in life sciences, if you do something good, there's actually a lot of good for the people that you've done it for. And whether that's, coming up with a new sequencing technology whereby precision medicine could be made easier, or developing a drug for a specific patient population which doesn't have anything right now and would die otherwise, there's that layer of impact, which means that, the really good life scientists and the really, really good investors, they're not doing it because they actually want to make the most money. They're doing it because they want to have the most impact. And you make a lot of money because you have a lot of impact. It's the other way around. And with that in mind, I think it's a big part of any investors that end up or people that want to go into life sciences investment. I encourage you actually to go work in a startup in life sciences first. I'd really encourage people to spend time actually in the companies before they try and invest. Understand the process of drug development, understand the process of how you work with pharma companies, with insurers and payers and all the other actors in the ecosystem, because it is just very different basically to if you were to do a traditional web company or IT company. And it's just as fulfilling in its own way, but it's a specialized career for sure.
Thank you, Vlado. You have both hats, both investor's hat and serial entrepreneur's hat. So how to create a company in that kind of environment, how to invest in a company, how to really create a startup ecosystem in life science, in biotech, biomedicine.
Thank you for this question, Nenad. What we do first, we are building the network of scientists. That's the first crucial step. Scientists, for example, in Switzerland, we are connected to every university also in Germany, and then we start to talk. We start to exchange, we start scouting for new potential drug targets, for new technologies. For example, in Israel, as we were visiting Israel to found the company TagImmune, we were scouting for 200 different technologies, just talking to scientists, listening carefully to them, and then according to the knowledge of our experts in the incubator, former drug developers at Roche and Novartis, we started to select, according to certain criteria, the technologies where we think we could translate that science into a real product that could make an impact. So then, as we said, you need to have a very strong infrastructure where you can get access to that infrastructure through the public-private joint ventureships. And then when you access that infrastructure, you are founding, in our case, the incubator, evaluating the preclinical proof of concept in animal models of most important technologies where you are predicting one or two of those technologies could really make an impact. And then when you have good solid data, you found the startup company. So the first spin-off company needs to go out of that incubator in Serbia, out of Bio4. And then you are bringing the cash. We always invest our own cash that we gain through our careers. And we invite other investors, private and venture capitalists, to participate on the risks. And then we are trying also to build a company. The difference from a normal investor, private investor, or entrepreneurial investor, or private equity growth company investor, we try to build the value on a long term. So in our case, we are not interested to do an exit in 2 years because we want to take more risks and build within 10 or 20 years. And then only one of those companies that would succeed would bring multiple return of investment to our shareholders. One typical example, and a very nice one, is the Basel company Actelion. They were founded through that infrastructure 20 years ago. They spun off from Roche with a drug for pulmonary hypertension, and they started to build their drug in the company from a startup company of 2 employees to 1,000 people, and 20 years later, they sold that company to Johnson & Johnson for 33 billion euros. The most shareholders were in Basel, so Basel became one of the most richest cities, and the whole ecosystem has profited from that long-term vision. So that's how we also see we have to build on a long term with great people, great experts, and you need all the stakeholders. You need the infrastructure, you need the governmental support, you need the local support, you need the hospitals, you need the investors, you need the medical oncologists and medical doctors, you need the drug developers. And every stakeholder is important in the story, and at the end, everybody is profiting, but it's more important to think not about profits, it's more important to think about products first. That's our key rule. Think about product first. Think about commercializing this product, and then the profits, then they come automatically. So that's a simple recipe, and most important, be brave and be stubborn to go over the target line, to succeed on what your vision is.
And how much money was invested in your companies combined so far?
So around, since 2013, around 200 million Swiss francs has been invested so far. And now we are planning new, bigger investments. And the first product was commercialized by Novartis in 2010 under the name Afinitor or Everolimus. This is the product where we just did the preclinical development, and now we are a bit stronger, financially stronger, so that we can go up to phase 3, and then we are looking for big partnerships. And if big pharmas are not interested, we go for stock exchange, so for IPOs, and then we want to build the commercial force, and then we talk about much bigger money.
Fantastic. John, whenever I look at the White City's website, I see by order of magnitude larger investments in startups, because you published those numbers and it was like 85 million. That last one was over 600 million. I know what number it is now, but how do you connect the investor side and the entrepreneurial side and also the scientists somewhere in between?
So yes, I think we've enjoyed growth, but I think we've also enjoyed growth where there has been a broad growth in venture dollars and an increase in especially the US investors looking into Europe and looking into the UK in particular, where they hope they can find value because some of the valuations in the US have become challenging at the early stages. And I think historically we had a relatively closed ecosystem. You know, we tried to build a balance sheet investment model which would allow our tech transfer office to choose winners and back winners. But I think Alistair is absolutely right. You soon discover that it's $1 billion per bet. And no matter how strong you are as an institution and how committed you are, building the capacity to back every single opportunity at that level is just not within our realm. So over the last 3 years, we've been increasingly building a community of venture investors at the front end, getting support from our government around limitations that have historically been in the system around some of our pension funds and some of the other parts of our financial structure to invest in these high-risk opportunities. But a lot of it is communication. It is making sure that globally and nationally, everyone is aware that we exist, what we are doing, and that we are keen to bring investment in, because we had to break down that theory that we were a closed shop. So being open and being open to external investment is really important. But again, you then have to be very comfortable with sharing the upside. Again, a lot of ecosystems can get stuck worrying about hot money coming in from overseas and taking the lion's share of the gain. But you have to bring in a significant number of dollars in order to bring all these opportunities forward. So yeah, I think communication and awareness and being open and accessible. And then there's an element around the way the Technology Transfer Office itself enables academics and the extraordinary scientists to support those academics and growth companies in order to communicate their own story. So making sure that complex ideas, which can only really be broadly understood by the PhD community, can actually then be put into the context of other historical opportunities, though people do feel more confidence of putting significant money at the early stage, so that those companies can scale and scale quickly. Because what you certainly see is those companies that are willing and are able to grow their space and grow their community of scientists are the ones that then have the outside success. You want to see them really scaling up to 100 plus people in their early stages, not taking every milestone as the opportunity to add a few more scientists. They need to go big and they need to invest heavily in the scientific community.
Thank you. On a slightly different note, what we are seeing from tech, because we've done this parallel with tech, is that most of the big techs are now investing heavily in this or that way of life sciences or biotechnology. We know that Elon Musk has Neuralink, that Jeff Bezos is invested, the Mark Zuckerberg announced some AI breakthroughs with protein folding in their algorithms. Apple is doing this. Founder of Oracle is doing this for quite some time. And really, Raymond has this fantastic question that says, like, is big tech taking over? So is big tech taking over this life science and biotech story? Raymond, please.
I think it took over already. I think it took over, and I think you need to be bold, need to be risk-taking and also daring to assume that maybe in 20 years nobody knows what pharmaceutical industry actually means, because there's no survivor of the traditional pharmaceutical companies. That is a possibility. So why not count on that? You don't have a large Serbian pharmaceutical company, so you try something that goes away from them. If the rule is that university biology faculty create a biotech company and then you sell it to a pharmaceutical company, if that is the golden rule, why do we still get sick? Why do we have incurable diseases? So that is a big problem. On the other hand, there's lots of capital in the big tech companies, and they are very active. Because McKinsey, some years ago, they published a chart and they took it very serious, and I believe it also. The health issues of all of us are only in 25% unmodifiable factors. That means that you have complicated genetic mutations that will cause some diabetes in you in some years, or that you have a complicated mutation that may create that you have a weak heart and you get a heart attack. That means 75% of your health issues are not solvable by medicine. So the big thing is social compounds, behavioral compounds, and access to healthcare. That is much more important than taking a pill. So Apple says, okay, that is our market. Apple, right now, with the Apple Watch, how many of you are wearing an Apple Watch?
Here's one.
Yeah, that made Apple, a computer company, IT company, the company with the most cardiovascular health data in the world. They may sell it to Novartis or Pfizer and others, but it's actually Apple. They control it. They know much more. And in 10 years already, Apple Watch will tell you, don't take that stairway. Sit down, have an apple, and relax. And that may prevent you from getting a heart attack. And you're willing to pay for that service. So that is new health and well-being for societies in the hands of Apple. Amazon is doing clinical trials with Anderson Clinic in the US. Amazon clinical trials. 1/3 of all the Google venture capital investments are in life science companies. Some of them, we don't even know what they are doing. Amazon also invested in a spectacular startup. It's called Altos Labs in California. They got $3 billion to start a company with Amazon money and other rich people's money to prolong life. Yeah, it's worth $3 billion. You can imagine, they bought scientists from all over the world, also from our research park, 2 scientists. And, but nobody actually knows what they are doing. So it's complicated. If we want to have our health developments in the hand of private people and maybe of just a few personalities like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates. So we should decide that maybe we need a broader understanding of what we need as a society in health and well-being, which really makes a sense for us.
Ali, what do you think about the role of big techs and tech companies and AI companies basically in the life science?
It's been very important for certain aspects. So in particular, scaling. So if you think about edge processing, which is the use of AI or doing data processing basically on the edge, meaning on your phone, not in the cloud. That's actually been a hugely important thing for life sciences companies, because if you're not relying on cloud processing and AI being done somewhere else, and you're controlling it at source, it's much quicker, it's much more reliable. You don't have data security concerns, as an example. Similarly, the improvement of AI algorithms, which have allowed AlphaFold 2, as mentioned before, which is the protein prediction tool that Google has, that couldn't have happened without the algorithms that they've generated and the amount of data that they were able to collect in order to push it forwards. I think actually part of the question is also to say, like, whilst the role of big tech is important, the lack of strong tech within pharma companies is just as important. So the reason why many of these tech companies have been able to do well is because actually most pharma companies do not value bioinformatics. They do not value machine learning. They do not value all of the things in technology which are pushing things forwards in the same way that a tech company would. They would still rather do it manually with a statistician sitting there filling in an Excel spreadsheet rather than using a complicated algorithm or tool. And that plays just as much a role into the value of technology and life sciences together as tech having a lot of money and a lot of interest to get into biotechnology. Now, I think one very important thing also to remember is that there is the mantra within tech and IT that you need to break things and move fast. Right? That was for a long time in Silicon Valley. That was the mentality that you have, and that was the mentality that people push forwards. And Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all of these people have done well because of that mantra. If you do that in life sciences, you're called Elizabeth Holmes, and you cannot do that. It is exceptionally important that the time delay here is done such that things can be done properly, and you're not breaking things. You're discovering things and you're using it effectively. And I think that's actually the last part of it is that big tech's role needs to be measured and done in such a way where you're not applying the same mentality with the social network to now something in life sciences where you're using healthcare and life sciences data for people. It's something that there needs to be some adaptation to. And whilst many of the founders, do stuff, don't forget that Neuralink, Elon Musk's company, was rejected to go into clinical trials last week. And that's partly because of the mantra of break things and go fast, right? He wasn't ready yet. So there's a lot of these things whereby big tech's money and big tech's influence is hugely important, but there's actually fundamental building blocks that need to be fixed before you can get to that being the real problem or the real influence.
And on this cooperation between AI and tech people and wet labs people, basically white coats, as Jelena said, how do you do it at White City campus? How do you bring those vastly different backgrounds and mentalities together to cooperate and create something more effective, more efficiently, faster, and possibly even cheaper?
So you start again with infrastructure. All scientists want a great lab. And the labs date very quickly. What we discover is that actually even a 10-year-old science lab can already be frustrating in terms of airflow, in terms of flexibility, and in terms of the ever-evolving diagnostic kit that scientists want to work with. So you've got to make sure that you are really putting world-class scientific facilities all the way across wet labs and in dry labs and engineering labs. So facilities are the first basic building block. But then actually you've got to create a exciting, vibrant, positive environment. A place where actually you can get that, everyone loves the fact that DNA with Crick and Watson were in a pub when they were talking about the future of DNA. You've got to therefore build the pub. And you've got to then make sure that the pub is a safe and positive environment where people can have innovative thoughts and multidisciplinarity. And it's interesting, you've got to again be patient because the early adopters of the White City campus were very much the life sciences. And this is a long history of Imperial College. Our chemistry department gets moved every 30 years or so because chemistry is shockingly expensive. If the building runs out of its natural lifetime and the engineers always want to move them away so that the engineers can move into the chemist space. So chemistry started in Mayfair, and then it moved to Marble Arch, then it moved to Kensington and Chelsea, and now it's in White City. They were a founder institution. And then once they're there, you then have to ensure that those who don't need the infrastructure so much are pleased to be there as well. So I'm now, it's actually extraordinary for me taking that Barcelona example, that now 13, 14 years into our journey, I now have an oversupply of academic departments and academic groups who now want to be in White City because they see the co-location proposition, they see the quality of the environment, and they see the ability to do interdisciplinary science. But it did take 7, 8, 9 years to get to that position where they're now wanting to come in. So start with the basic scientists and the high quality infrastructure, but make sure that you're building a place with transport connectivity, with social infrastructure, with educational infrastructure. That means that everybody is actually going to want to be there.
I also like, as we are approaching the end of the panel, I would also like to touch upon the biomanufacturing. So I'd like to ask Vlada, what's your take on Serbia's role in biomanufacturing and what's the potential for us?
So among small molecules that we develop for new targeted cancer treatments, we are also working on an innovative project that we mentioned today by Elena, CAR-T project. So what is CAR-T? Chimeric antigen T-cell receptors. If you have a patient, and the whole story started in Basel, actually in Boston, in Boston. In Basel, they developed the Kymriah that you heard from Elena before. You take actually from leukemia patients, today also lymphoma patients, their own cells. You take the blood, you isolate the T cells, and then you go to the lab. Then in this case, you work with attenuated HIV virus, with which you can bring certain receptors on the surface of your own T cells. You populate those cells, and then you bring them back. And they are equipped with these receptors to recognize the cancer cells much easier. And there is a very well-known Emily case story. So the first patient was a young girl, Emily. Today, she is announced as cured after 15 years almost. Her cancer, her leukemia didn't come back. So this CAR-T space is very important, and our company Swiss Rockets would like now to build within Bio4 the manufacturing facility together with Bio4 people, a manufacturing facility for CAR-T cells to bring also to Eastern European countries this therapy. In Basel, this therapy costs 500,000 Swiss francs, but with newest techniques all around the globe, you can bring those costs to, for example, 200,000. So tomorrow we will have, as cancer drugs, we will have live cancer drugs, real complex cells, and combining them with current standard of treatment and new innovative treatment, we see big synergy in that combination. And we would like to have manufacturing here in Serbia and then to export components of those cells to Western Europe, to US, and try to do the game change. And we believe with academic expertise here and also bringing some experts, Serbians as well, from the US, from Switzerland back to Serbia, this will help us also to build a new ecosystem also in that area.
And what would be the range of the investment in a facility like that?
So such a facility costs around 100 million Swiss francs, and we would like to have between 2,000 and 4,000 square meters, and we would like to work also closely with Serbian hospitals to support those patients. Or there is also another idea to do the medical tourism for companies in the Balkan region or Eastern Europe that cannot afford that infrastructure. So we would be also able to bring patients to Serbia. The company Kite, the pioneer in that area, they actually built a small hospital close to the airport, so that type of patients could come very easily to the hospitals. Here in Serbia, we have another infrastructure. The country is smaller, and the technology has been improved dramatically. So you could really cover several countries with centralized manufacturing, and then with different collaborations with Barcelona, with Singapore, with other big biotech centers. You could make an impact in combining, for example, that therapy with new innovative therapies. For example, this PI3K-mTOR drug we would like to combine for certain leukemias with the CAR-T, enhancing the anti-cancer efficacy. And this is something that we would like to test in Europe, and that's how the development starts.
Entering the last 30 seconds, Jelena, we started with you. Do you have any last thoughts or message for our audience?
Well, actually, I was really enjoying the panel, and I think it's very, very difficult. I was trying to find within myself the reply, or within the smarter community than me, how the future is going to look like. it's very hard to tell. I mean, you heard just partially what is happening with technologies, and they're changing really from the scratch our lives, our way of thinking, our principles, some of the basic principles of the whole society. At the same time, I'm very excited. At the same time, you know, it's completely unknown, particularly what is happening with biotech and AI, but also with other fields. We are entering kind of unknown. And it's very important to educate people. It's very important to educate whole society. It's very important to think strategically and to really focus on, are we going to create our own future? Are we going to be a part of this process? Or we shall just, you know, wait for someone else to give us the product, to give us something without asking any questions. I think we do need to ask questions. I think we do need to face the challenges, and I think we should be, and we have the strength, we have the capacity to really face these challenges, of course, together with all global players.
Thank you very, very much.